Hey everybody, welcome back to Uncle Skinny Reviews. I am Uncle Skinny. You're watching Uncle Skinny Reviews, the #1 show on YouTube. And we talk about movies, we give movie reviews, all different kinds of movies, comedies, musicals, all different kinds of movies. So welcome back. As you can see, I I look like the mummy. Brendan Fraser, 6 out of 10. And I guess I will get into the story. Basically, the sunburn that I had incurred last week got severely infected. I woke up a couple days ago, looked in the mirror to just find my face basically covered in balloons that were full of pus and fluid. It looked basically like my face was made of bubble wrap that somebody had painted red, and not the small bubble wrap, the big boys, because they were big and disgusting. So once again, we're in a lot of pain, and basically my diet has had to change because I really can't open my mouth that much. So all my foods have to be in liquid form, which on top of all this pain that I'm experiencing has given me just constant diarrhea, which I've had straight diarrhea for the last several days. And so it hasn't been the most fun. But, I'd like to announce right here, right now, that here, first time on the Uncle Skinny YouTube channel, we're going to do a special kind of charity thing, I guess. I need a skin transplant. That's what the doctors have told me. I need a volunteer because the flesh on my face is just completely dead and it is rotting as we speak. So I need a volunteer to come and donate some of their skin and put it on my skin because I need your skin. So if there are any volunteers, basically if you volunteer, I can what we can do is I can give you one of my VHS copies from my prize collection, and you can pick out any movie you want. I have The Matrix 2, I have The Shawshank Redemption, okay, and more. But I'm just, those are some examples of some of the more prized pieces in my collection. So if you want to volunteer, please hit me up. Please email me, contact me, because I need skin for my face so that I can continue doing, the things that I love, which is talking about movies. And speaking of movies, let's get into it. Today's movie is It Comes at Night, 2017, directed by Trey Edward Schultz. Comes at Night tells the story of a family, the son Travis, the father Paul, and the mother Sarah, as they have isolated themselves in the forest, keeping themselves alive through whatever means they can. That means kind of having their own water supply, food supply, etc. As we come to find out, there is a mysterious infectious disease that's highly fatal, and so that's why they've isolated themselves in the forest. One evening, Travis is awakened to hear a rustling by the door to the house, and it comes to find out a man is there with a gun. Quickly, the father, Paul, subdues the man, kind of beats him up a little bit, but as the story kind of unfolds, the man is, again, sort of just like them, another family man who's looking for a way for him and his family to survive. He thought the house was sort of abandoned and he was looking in for supplies. He didn't mean any trouble. And after that, Paul and the gentleman who we've come to know as Will decide that be better and safer in numbers, so their families kind of combine forces. They live at the house. However, the true monster here is human fear, paranoia, and the will to survive. It Comes at Night definitely would fall into the atmospheric, slow burner, sect of horror movies. It's certainly not as dragging as something like I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. There's definitely more moments of tension that bubble up that lead to ultimately its very heavy and dramatic, tense climax. As far as the kind of technical components of this movie are concerned, the cinematography, the camera work, nothing too dazzling or alluring there, and likewise the sound design and scoring is equally drab. But the true treat to this movie is the script, the acting, the dialogue. I think that's where the movie really finds itself to be something captivating. Simple things of, the cadence and how they speak to each other, slight facial expressions, slight gestures really speak volumes and really builds the tension in this movie. You have Paul, who's the head of the household of the first family with Travis as the son, and then you have Will, who's the patriarchal figure in the next household. And the way they interact is just very tense and nail biting, even though they're having a very simple conversation, because you can sense that two father figures are really trying to assert a sense of dominance. And they're only trying to do that really for the safety of their family. And so I'll say that the acting and the dialogue here, again, the script, all that is really the driving force behind this movie. There's definitely some bits of action that are thrilling enough to keep you invested in this movie, but the devil lies in the details in this one. But it is a treat to watch for sure. Now, the big thing about It Comes at Night, I think, is its thematic scope. I'll just say that. Thematically, this movie is very conflicting, but very ingenious at the same time. You know, take the title, for example, It Comes at Night, definitely indicates something of a specter, a ghoul, something unnatural creeping through the forest to come and get you. And in a way, it's true. But yet, the ghoul, the specter, is actually humankind itself. Um, and unfortunately, this movie has a very bleak outlook on humankind and how humankind treats each other. What's interesting about this movie is the circumstance that is laid out, this disease that I guess is incredibly fatal. We know nothing about it. We don't know about the scope of it, if it's a worldwide thing, if it's been contained in certain areas. We know nothing about it other than it kills you. We don't really even know how it affects you. We only see evidence of it here and there and in glimpses. Um, but we know literally nothing about it. It doesn't even have a name. They never even refer to it really in the movie. And that's because, well, it's pretty obvious. The movie's not about the virus or the disease or whatever it is. It's a means to an end to pit these two families against each other. Neither family in the movie is malicious. There's no good guy versus bad guy. And I think that's what makes this movie so poignant, especially in today's climate, what with the current pandemic that's happening in the world. It's a very scary thing to actually take in. It's a very harrowing movie to watch. This movie has both condemned mankind and praised it. We see moments of beautiful harmony between the two families, and it's refreshing to see them getting along. Um, but yet, we ultimately know that the conflict is coming, and when it does come, I don't think we're altogether surprised as much as we are crestfallen and heartbroken. Because again, there is no villain here necessarily in this movie. They're two families trying to do what's best, trying to survive, trying to keep their own families intact. But fear and paranoia really do take over, and it shows the cost of that. It shows the cost of keeping your family alive. This movie really preys on sensitivity, and to a large degree, we experience the movie through, I guess you could call him the main character, but Travis, who's the adolescent son of Paul and Sarah. Travis is sensitive. He's a sensitive boy. He doesn't like conflict. He's not a person that's going to introduce conflict. He's more the type to avoid it at all costs. And he's also the type that he wants to make friends. I mean, he's in that age group where he needs to socialize with people his age, and he's just stuck with his mother and father, isolated in the woods. And you can tell that it's really gnawing away at him. And so this movie really does rely on that backbone of sensitivity to flesh out and illuminate and really express itself thematically. And when it does that, it really is heartbreaking. At the end of this movie, um, man, it just kind of makes you feel kind of shitty, I guess. And it makes you kind of feel shitty for the whole human race, which is unfortunate. But I do think that it was a very effective movie in the way that it did that. And I do think it's a message that definitely has a place, especially in the world of film. And considering, again, I'm going to say the current climate of 2020, it's certainly a film that I recommend you watch. It may not be for everybody. But it's not intensely bloody or gory or violent. There are some interesting dream sequences where people seem to be spewing this black substance out of their mouths. And I would actually say that's my one critique of the movie, because I really don't know why that happens, and the effects look pretty corny and cheap and silly, and we don't have any indication that that's how the disease operates. It's all this kind of dream vision that Travis has. It just kind of seems like a little too on the nose to being a horror movie, I guess. People spewing black stuff out of their mouths. It's a well-tread trope, and it really didn't do anything for me. But my review, the Uncle Skinny review for It Comes at Night, is going to be a 7 out of 10. Poignant, heartbreaking, powerful. But certainly, I think it could have used a little bit more alluring camera work, sound design, especially to keep that pace. I think it would have added to some of the dramatic effect, added to a little bit more of a cerebral experience, especially during these dream sequences that Travis has had. But those would be sort of my only criticisms for the movie. Ultimately, I thought it was a good watch, and maybe to some extent an important watch. I'll leave you to be the judge of that. Well, that's all from me this week. Tune in next week, and please keep me in your thoughts and prayers. So I'm having a rough time, and I need a volunteer. I do need skin. I need all the skin I can get. So if you have skin, if you have some skin you can spare, I'm sure that maybe most people do. The doctors told me that most of these operations, they take the skin from the ass to the butt. So it is butt skin, but there is plenty of it around, and I could use some. I am in a dire place. So please, you got to contact me and volunteer for that. And again, you could get rewarded with one of my prized VHSs from my collection, which I think is a pretty enticing treat. So we'll see you next week, guys. Again, thoughts and prayers. I need and money. If you have money, I always can use that. Love it. And so we'll see you next week.